Right, so a very good evening, everyone. We'll be starting our presentation sessions now. Please raise your hands and we'll go by the order of raised hands. Right, so firstly we have Kaustubh Pandey with us. Yeah, Kaustubh, you can share your.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. Am I visible, sir? Like the screen is visible?
Yeah, the screen is visible and you are visible as well.
Yeah, okay. So my presentation is for Doctor Search website, and my name is Kaustubh Pandey, and I'm from Manipal Institute of Technology. And is it entirely visible, sir, the screen?
Yeah, now it's entirely visible.
Yeah, okay. So I'm Kaustubh Pandey. I'm from Manipal Institute of Technology. The project that I did was about Doctor Search website, and let me continue. So these are the table of contents. Project goals: design web app, posting and creating the backend APIs and unit testing, connecting the front end with the backend APIs, demo and references. So the project goals were like to understand the Figma and adopt XD for designing web applications, like using Figma plugins like Anima and Locofy for converting the designs into HTML and save development time. In order to save development time, understand how to create database and web services to search doctors, and integrate the front end and the back end part. In order to design the web app, initial design was through Figma app, and to get answer as it helps to in order to create some simple and quickly prototype ideas which we can share with the clients in order to understand what to expect, and so that we can communicate if any change is required. And then I use Locofy app, which converts the design to actual HTML and CSS code quickly. So in order to save a lot of time while writing the code. And so here is the design, the web app, which I made with the help of the Locofy, like Sigma. And for hosting and creating the database, first of all, the host, I like the next step was to host the website using the necessary files uploaded on the 000 webhost.com, and created a database with the doctors to search the form. Here are the codes that I uploaded on the web host file manager. Here is the site. I will show you later on in the while the presentation. In the presentation, here is the Doctor Search website that I created. Here is the database that I entered for selected categories like general physician, dermatologist, and dentist. And the next step was to create the web services in order to interact and fetch data from the backend part. And the services that then created the web services using PHP and performed unit testing using Postman. Here is the code for the web service. Here is the Postman test. Here is the Postman site in which a unit tested. Now connecting the front end with the backend APIs, use jQuery to get the user inputs and call the backend web services that returns the result in the form of HTML tags. And also created web services too, which fetches the data from the database according to the parameters that were entered by the user and returns the code, which is then rendered and displayed on the browser. Here is the code for the web service too. I have hidden the DB user, DB name, and DB password in this. Like I have did not write anything in that. Here is the output, the result of sending like web service 2.php. Like in the preview, you can see what I got in the results. I will show you. And it is the jQuery snippet to get input from the user. And let me show you once. This is the Doctor Search website. This is the Postman. I will don't know how to hide this thing once again. How do I minimize? Yeah. So this is the Postman site. This is the database that I created. Here the files were uploaded in order to host. And this is in general site. Research. When I click on search doctors, find doctors. I don't know why it's not responding. Once you find doctors, then it comes to intercategory. Let I general. But now if I enter in the search, it is showing this. I have entered for general physician, and these two are the doctors like City, Dr. Nivesh Gupta and Dr. Pratyush Kumar Mishra. Similarly, I have written it for dentist too in Delhi. Dr. Dheeraj Sethia. And so this is Dr. Dheeraj Sethia. And now for the references part, I used the playlist that were given and the Figma and web hosting services. Anything that you want to say, sir, like the questions regarding it. Any hello? Hello.
First, you complete your presentation, and then we'll go for the review part.
Oh, okay, sir. So that's it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right, I believe it's over now. Okay.
What, sir?
It's over, right?
Yeah, it's over.
Right. So let's talk about the PPT first. See,
Yeah.
there was a good thing used. But, yeah. Can you just scroll up to the top?
Yeah.
Right. So talking about the introduction, like the hook story, any presentations will start with a hook story first, right? So you lack hook story at the start of the presentation. You directly jumped on the task which was given to you and explained about the task.
Okay,
right?
Sir. Got it, sir.
Yeah, but why do you why were you assigned this task as a part of web developer group? Why were you assigned this task? Yeah, and then talking about the steps, like first you designed it in the Figma using Locofy extracting, then went for the Postman checking and like PHP file, and then database, and then writing the web service code, right?
Yes, sir.
You could have explained it in a flow, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Instead of just showing that this is the database, this is the Postman service, this is this, and this is that, right? So not just showing the output or the snippet, try to explain it. Like for example, taking the database itself, right? So there were certain columns like the doctor category, there was a doctor name, you know.
Yes, sir. Doctor name, doctor information.
Yeah, information. So you should have talked about them as well. And then in the Postman service, give us a live, live feed. Where
yeah, I can give, sir.
Yeah, but at the time of the presentation, not after the presentation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
That opportunity was given to you during that time itself. You go for the body part, and then you enter two parameters like search and area, to which you get these results, right? To check whether your website will work properly or not. Like, so this all things like small, at least a brief idea about the steps was necessary. Talking about the PHP, it's hardly 15 line code, right?
Yeah.
Explaining that would have been much easier, much convenient, because there are many non-coding background people here, right? So
yes, sir.
At least giving them a very rough idea, like brief idea about what you are doing in the code, back at what is happening in the backend part, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Talking about the demo is fine. There are use of good colors, and it's a decent page. Can you just show me the
1 second?
demo?
1 second. Let me hide this. I'm not. Yeah, sir.
Right here. Yeah, the page is fine. And have you given any hover effects on the home survey search doc? Like if I click on the search
I
doc,
think this is the hover effect that I took
okay, but
first.
when you
That's
click
it.
any logo of your website, it should refresh
Huh.
the page, right? So does it
Yeah.
do that thing in your page?
No, sir.
Okay,
Not that
that
developed.
could have done in your in the Figma itself. That could have,
Yeah, yeah.
and then hover to the home service contact anything.
No.
Yeah,
Contact details I haven't uploaded. Like didn't
okay.
did that part.
I'm
Just
talking about
basics.
the yeah.
Search doctors.
I'm talking about the hover effect because when you see when you click on search doctors, it should direct you to the space where you have you be entering a doctor's
Hmm.
name, doctor category, and the place, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
So
this part, right?
basically, what it shows is what I'm quoting here is the site should look functional,
Huh.
right?
Yeah.
And then the css files are properly maintained, like there are separate compartments for the search results. So that was the nice part of the demo, and
Yes.
the demo part is okay. And just in the ppt section, try to add hook
Yes.
story, like a
Yes, sir.
why of the task. Okay,
Yes, sir.
why were you
Got
assigned task and what did you learn, and
got it.
then be more elaborative about every step where you go and how was the roadmap of the site which you built. Yeah,
Got it.
yeah, and at the very end, can you just scroll down?
Yes, sir. Once.
Right. So in the Q&A slide itself, try to mention your contact or the GitHub link.
Okay.
Yeah, because when you
The
ask, yeah, when you ask,
thank you part I have mentioned, sir.
yeah, I know, but in the Q&A, because
Q
it,
and A.
yeah,
Okay, sir.
because you ask questions, na. Right.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to ask you a question, they can directly go to the mentioned contact details or the GitHub.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
Right. So I believe that's all from my side, and work upon it. And
Yeah,
since
sure, sir.
it was
Sure.
your first presentation, work upon this,
Yeah.
and you will definitely excel from your next.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, you can stop sharing.
Okay. Yes, sure.
So now let's move ahead. We have Milind Rathore with us. Yeah, Milind,
Yes, sir.
turn your camera on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yes, sir. Master.
what's the topic name? Over
Project timeline.
project timeline. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you can start.
Okay. My name is Milind Rathore from the Web Development Group, and just completed my third year UG courses in the IT Open. So my project name is the Real-Time Stock Market Data Web Application, and my task name is Project Timeline. So first, we will discuss. Let's move on to the index. Firstly, I will discuss brief intro of the project. Then we see the task instruction, and the main key feature point of this project is the Gantt chart. Our task is to provide the timeline. So we further learn how to create a project timeline forwarded by the proper written documentation of all tasks. Further, we followed to the Gantt chart of this project, followed by slides contain the challenges we faced to occur in this project, and finally ended with the conclusion tree. So here is introduction of our project. The real-time stock market data web application is a full-stack web application that allows investors to track real-time stock market data in an easy-to-understand format. The web application pulls real-time stock data from APIs and displays stock prices, volume, market trends, and other information that investors need to track their investments. The web application has features such as user authentication, security to ensure that user data is protected. Now this is our today's task, project timeline. What is project timeline? A project timeline is a comprehensive visual representation of the canonical order of task. It portrays the sequential order, the interdependencies, and duration of task, activities, and milestones within a project. Task dependencies are displayed on a certain charts, which shows which task must be completed before others can start. Milestone or achievements within project are typically marked on the timeline. It serves as a powerful tool for the project managers and team to gain a holistic understanding of projects schedule, track the progress, identify critical paths, and all those sequences of the tasks that directly impact project duration. A well-designed project timeline promotes efficient resource management, productive decision making, and successful project execution. Now, task instruction is to learn project timeline, create a project timeline for the real-time stock market web application with the help of Gantt chart. Now, question rises in mind that what is Gantt chart? Let's discuss it, which is also our main key feature. The Gantt chart, a cornerstone of the project timeline, presents task as a horizontal bars along a time scale. Each bar represents a specific task or activity and is positioned according to its start and end dates. The length of the bar corresponds to the duration of the task, allowing for a clear visualization of project standard. The chart also exhibits task relationship, displaying dependencies between different activities by identifying independencies, such as tasks that must be completed before others can begin. The Gantt chart helps project managers determine the optimal sequence of work and avoid potential bottlenecks or delays. Furthermore, the Gantt chart within project timeline facilitates the identification and monitoring of milestones. These are significant events or achievements within the project that serve as key progress indicators. Milestones are typically represented as vertical markers on the Gantt chart, helping project teams keep track of important project landmarks and ensuring that project is progressing according to plan. One particularly valuable aspect of the Gantt chart is its ability to highlight the critical path. The critical path is the sequence of tasks that, if delayed, would directly impact the overall project duration. By visually emphasizing the critical path, project managers can focus their attention on the most time-sensitive activities, allocating resources and prioritizing efforts to prevent potential project delays. So why do we need a project timeline? By utilizing a Gantt chart within a project timeline, project managers and team can gain a comprehensive overview of the project dependencies and milestones. This comprehensive visual representation aids in planning, monitoring, and controlling the project, allowing for efficient resource management and proactive decision making. Ultimately, a well-designed project timeline using a Gantt chart contributes to the successful execution of projects, ensuring that tasks are completed on time, within budget, and in alignment with the project's objectives. Till now, we understand what is project timeline and a Gantt chart and their importance. Now we take a look for creating a project timeline. Let's get a project timeline. In these 10 steps, we will be ready for making a very efficient project timeline using Gantt chart. Discuss them point-wise. Our first point is define a project scope. Clearly identify the project's objective, deliverables, and major milestones. This will help you determine the task activity that you need to include in the timeline. Break down the project into tasks. Our second point, divide the project into smaller and manageable tasks. List all the necessary activities and consider any dependencies between them. It may be helpful to involve the project team in this process to ensure a complexity task list. Our third point is determine task durations. Estimate the duration or effort required for each task. Consider the availability of resource dependencies and any potential constraints. And then break down the task into smaller subtasks if necessary for more accurate estimations. Fourth point is establish task dependencies. Identify the relationships between tasks. Determine which task must be completed before others can start. Say precedence and which task can be start after certain tasks are finished. Those are successes. Our fifth point, the sequence the task. Arrange the task in the order they need to be performed based on their dependencies. They will create a logical flow of activities within the timeline. Sixth point is assign resources. Determine the resources. Example, our resources are team members and equipment required for each task. Consider resource availability. Allocate them accordingly. This step ensures that the timeline reflects resource constraints and availability. 7th and 8th point will be create the Gantt chart and adjust optimize the time. So how to create a Gantt chart? Use the project management software tools that offer the Gantt chart capabilities. Input the task list, duration, dependencies, and resource assignments to generate the Gantt chart automatically. Alternatively, we can create a Gantt chart manually using Microsoft PowerPoint as I done. And the 8th point is, as I discussed, that adjust the optimized timeline. Review the generated the chart and timeline. Check for any scheduling conflict, resource overloads, or unrealistic deadlines. Make necessary adjustment to balance resource allocation and optimize the timeline. Consider critical path analysis to identify tasks that directly impact the project duration. And our 9th and the final point, set milestones and communicate the timeline. Set milestones. Identify key milestones in the project representing significant achievements or events. Add them to the timeline to provide the reference points and help to track progress. Communicate the timeline. Share the project timeline with stakeholders, including team members and clients and sponsors. Ensures that everyone involved understands the timeline dependencies, key milestones. Regularly update and communicate any changes or updates to the timeline throughout the project. Now we make to the documentation of our product. Documentation of. I think my documentation is visible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. Documentation of a real-time stock market database application. So project timeline, we already discussed this all in the intro. Let's discuss it. A project timeline provides visual representation of the canonical order of tasks, activities, milestones in a project. Helps the project manager and team understand project schedules and dependencies. Timeline often includes a Gantt chart, which uses the horizontal bars to represent tasks and their durations. Task dependencies are displayed on the Gantt chart, showing which tasks must be completed before and after others can start. Milestones, significant events or achievements within the project are typically marked on the timeline. The timeline helps project teams track progress and identify the critical path and sequence of the task and that directly impact the project duration. Now we jump to the project description, which is of 2-month duration, and all tasks is distributed along within the weeks. In week one, understand the React.js components, JS syntax, and the setting up environment for Node.js. Right? And in week 2, with the help of CSS, we create responsive design and styling to the application, setting the user authentication for data safety. In week 3, fetching real-time stock market data from Alpha Vantage API and display the same in comprehensible format for user. In the last week of the month, search functionality is added to the application, which allows investor to search specific stocks. Finally, the last task for first month is testing and debug. In second month of week 1, has 2 tasks: using D3.js, adding data visualization to the application, and handling the errors and edge cases. In week 2, with the help of Node.js and Express.js, we can start building backend and creating APIs to handle user authentication. And in week 3, for news articles, we use news API sources for integrating the news API to display relevant news article related to the selected stocks. In the last 4th week, finally optimizing the performance of application device by caching and code splitting, and then deploy the web application on AWS server. Here I have given all the reference of task 1 of first month to the task 4 of second. Total 14 references are there. Now, the acknowledgement. We would like to express our appreciation for comprehensive discussion on the project timeline using the Gantt chart. The detailed explanation for creating timelines, challenges faced, and strategies to overcome them has provided valuable insights. The information shared has enhanced our understanding of this project management tool and its significance in planning, tracking, and executing the project successfully. Thank you for the informative and well-rounded guidance of this project. For any contact information, you can contact me on my given email address. Now, first we complete our presentation. Yeah, so this is a Gantt chart made by me in this tool. Wait a minute. Okay. So, we all are looking to the Gantt chart made by me using this using PowerPoint. And first column consists of all tasks should be completed according to the duration mentioned corresponding rows, and its duration is represented by these horizontal bars, and black flag denotes milestone completion in our Gantt chart. Milestone marker is marked after a week, and the last flag represents the hooray, you have completed the project. What are the main challenges faced in the project? So generally, first, task estimation. Estimating task duration requires a good understanding of project scope, dependencies, and potential risk. Overestimating or underestimating task dependencies can lead to unrealistic timelines and resource constraints. Second point is task dependencies. Identifying the managing task dependencies can be complex, especially in projects with numerous interrelated tasks. Ensuring that tasks are properly sequenced and dependent tasks are not delayed can be challenging, requiring careful analysis and considering of potential bottlenecks. Third point is project complexity. Projects with high complexity, multiple work streams, or intricate dependencies can make creating a clear and manageable Gantt chart more challenging. Visualizing complex project structures and relationships in a simplified manner can require additional effort and expertise. And the last point, and the last challenge is project constraints. Projects often have constraints such as budget limitations, regulatory requirements that impact the timeline. Integrating these constraints into the project timeline while balancing other project aspects can be demanding. So, final conclusion is creating a project timeline using a Gantt chart is a valuable tool for the project managers. It helps visualize the project schedule, task dependencies, and critical work. However, challenges such as accurate task estimation, managing dependencies, and handling changes can arise. Effective communication and collaboration and adaptation are the key to overcoming these challenges. By addressing these factors, project timelines using Gantt chart can provide a solid foundation for planning, tracking, and successfully executing projects. So here are the references of my project. And thank you. And I am open to question. Anything you would like to ask?
Right, the presentation is over, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right. So Milind, see, you started the presentation well. Your PPT is well structured. Okay.
Yes.
Right from the beginning, it was well explained, and your expressions were good.
Yes.
The Gantt chart explanation was brilliant. Each and every step, where how you manage things week-wise, it was well explained as well. Thing is, you did like hook story at the start, like project timeline, since it's a graphical task, right? So
Yes.
some use of graphs, flowcharts could have been more helpful for your audience. Secondly, as you talked earlier at the very start, that you have completed your third year, right? So
Yes.
by the time, have you applied this project timeline in any of your projects? Did you come up with
No,
it?
sir.
Not yet.
I just learned it. No, sir. I just learned the project timeline in this intern.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm trying to say here is, do you recall any such events where you find a project timeline being applied to the?
Yeah, in my courses.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, that's the reference slide and everything was attached at the end, and the themes is good. So the PPT is well structured. Just the hook story part is missing. I improve on that, and
Okay.
I believe it was very well explained. That's all from my side.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure. So let's move forward. We have Elritz Gonsalves with us. Yeah, Elritz.
Yes, hello, sir.
Yeah, you're visible.
Okay, my name is Elritz Gonsalves, and I'll be doing the overview of Project Synopsis task for the stock trading application. And I'm from the web developer group. So why do we need the stock trading application? So if you see historically, the stock trading has always been very exclusive, like very few people could do it. So what we aim to do with the stock trading application is sort of like make it a democracy, allow anyone to participate in it. So we want to like lower the bar for entry for stock trading to such an extent that like anyone willing can even do it like part-time stock trading as a hobby, sort of. So that is like what we aim to do with the stock trading application. And now let me introduce this. So for our stock trading application, what we're going to do is we're going to make a full stack web application. And then there are other things. It has to provide users with comprehensive, up-to-date information about the stock market. And then this information that is provided should be displayed in an easy to understand format. And then it should fulfill the needs of like investors and all, because these are the people who we want to use our app. So investors, traders, financial professionals, we need to ask them what their needs are and we need to fulfill those needs. And it should give them some benefits also compared to like using the existing methods. So when we say we are making a stock trading app, there are some features that are like expected by the public. So first thing is that it should be responsive. It should be easy to use on multiple devices. And then if a trade is authorized on the app, it should be like completed as quickly as possible. So we need to reduce latency. Then we need stock data. We need to have correct stock data. And if it should be up to date, like up to the second at least. And then it should also not just show the current information, it should also show historic, like how has it been for the past 5 years, past week, past month, how is the stock looking, whether it's a good bet or whether it's losing money like that. And then last thing that is obviously expected is security. When we're doing a stock trading app, we will have a lot of users' financial information. So in this, so because of this, the users expect there to be a lot of security in the app, that not just anyone will be able to access our records, and also we need to encrypt it we need to store it in an encrypted format and such. Or better yet, we just don't have access to them anyway. So now for the tech stack we'll be using to make the app, for the front end we'll be using React, then HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In the backend, we'll be using Node.js and Express.js for the server-side scripting, and MongoDB for the database. Then the APIs will be using Alpha Vantage and News API. Alpha Vantage for the stock market information and News for the news. Then to visualize the data in the form of charts and graphs and such, we'll be using Chart.js and D3.js. Then for security and authentication, we'll be using JSON Web Tokens and Passport.js. And then for real-time communications, we'll be using WebSockets and Socket.io. And then finally, to test the finished tab, we'll be using Jest, Selenium, and Apache JMeter. And then finally, to deploy the app on the cloud, we'll be using Amazon Web Services. So now let us get into the details of each of these technologies. So on the front end, we'll be using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. This is like a given, because basically every web page is an HTML page. Then we use CSS to like style up the page, make it like more, what do you call, like user-friendly and so. And then we'll be using JavaScript to provide like this dynamic features and user interactivity. And then for the framework, we'll be using React.js. React.js is an open source JavaScript framework that is used to build user interfaces and web applications quickly. So like using React, we can build this app way faster than we could using only JavaScript. So that is why we'll be using React.js. Then in the backend, we'll be using Node.js. This will allow us to run scripts on the servers, whereas like React.js will run on the user PC. Node.js and Express.js will run together on our servers. So Node.js is like it's an open source backend server runtime. And so this allows us to use server scripting, and then Express.js is kind of an extension of Node.js, and it allows us to build backend web application framework with Node.js. And this is used for building web and mobile applications. And then finally, we'll be using MongoDB for our database. MongoDB is a new SQL database. This means like instead of in SQL where we always store the data in the forms of tables, in MongoDB we can store it in like a semi-structured, even unstructured form. This will be very useful for us to like save space and like make it work faster. And so that is what it means with optional schemas. That means like we don't need to like properly structure the data in MongoDB. And then for the APIs, we'll be using Alpha Vantage. This will be for our stock data. So this Alpha Vantage will give us like stock data among like many numerous stocks. It will also give us like cryptocurrency information. It will also give us like what the volume of the stocks are, how much has been selling, how much has not been selling, and then technical indicators and such. So this is a very useful API for us. It will give us a lot of information that we can use for the app. And then we will use News API to show our users relevant news information. Like if a user is invested in certain stocks, we can show him like news related to that company. How is it performing? Like what is the climate like inside the company and such. So we can use this News API to like show to users relevant information. And then to visualize the data. Now, after we get this data from Alpha Vantage, we can't just directly show it to our users. We need to put it in a format that the users will be able to understand properly, like what does this data mean? So for that, we can use Chart.js and D3.js. Chart.js is like very ready-made. It's like very minimal coding and such. So you can just put in the data and it will give you some usable graphs and this charts and such. D3 is a little bit more, how you say it? You need to learn it a little bit more. There's a little bit more of a learning curve, but like once you learn it, it offers like great customization and optimization and such. So for this, we'll be using a mixture of both, mostly D3.js, so that we can show the information for the users. Now, this is one of basically our most important authentication and security. How are we going to guarantee that the security of our users? So first of all, we'll have to use JSON web tokens. So now this is a way to securely transmit information between parties as a JSON object. So this in such a way that only those two parties can read what is going on in the JSON object. If someone, suppose there are like packet sniffers and all along the network, they won't be able to read the JSON object. Only the two parties at the end will be able to read. So we will use this JSON web tokens to authenticate and authorize users, and like all the sensitive information will be passed along as JWTs. And now after that, we'll also be using Passport.js. So Passport.js is specifically designed for Node.js as an authentication middleware. So it is designed to serve only one purpose, that is to authenticate requests. It is a library that allows us to log into websites that were created using Node and Express. And then we can, to those websites, we can add user authentication. So this is why we'll be using Passport.js, because we're already committed to using Node.js and Express.js. So it is our best fit. So now for real-time communication, like we said in stock markets, you need to provide up-to-date information. So we need to like produce information by the second. So for this, we need to do real-time communication. And the best way to do that is using WebSockets. So this is like a two-way communication between the servers and the clients. It means that both parties can essentially speak at the same time, kind of like a phone call, where like no one is like, it's not like you speak, I speak, then you speak, I speak again. So it's like anyone can speak at any time. So this is what we're going to be using as WebSockets. And the reason another reason we are going to be using this is it has very good support in React, which is what we are going to be using for our front end. And now after that, we also have socket.io, which is like essentially a superset of WebSocket. It's built on top of the WebSocket protocol, and it provides additional protocols like HTTP long polling and automatic reconnection. So HTTP long polling is like, if you have something to send, it will be able to send it immediately. It doesn't need to wait for a request from the client as such. The server can send it directly. And automatic reconnection is like if the connection gets stopped, it will automatically try to reconnect. No need for like manual intervention. So this is why I'll be using this. And then finally, to test the web application that we built, be using Jest, Selenium, and Apache JMeter. Now, Jest is like a JavaScript testing framework that is specifically built to test React. So that is why I'll be using it. So it will be very useful for us to do unit testing and such when we are building the React modules. And so for that, we'll be using Jest because it's specifically built for React. Now, Selenium is like an open source testing framework, which will do platform testing. Like it will check whether the site is working as expected on many different platforms. So for that, we can do Selenium. It will check like different browsers, whether it works on Android, Windows, Linux, like so and so. So for that, and then finally Apache JMeter. Like if you are doing if you are making a stock trading application, we need to see like how well it will perform if there are like 10,000 users using it concurrently. Maybe even 1 lakh users will be using it concurrently. So for that, we'll be using Apache JMeter, which is like a tool to do load testing. It will see like how well the website performs under load, whether it starts lagging and such. And now finally, after we build a web app, we need to actually deploy it on the web. And for that, we'll be using Amazon Web Services. Now this Amazon Web Services is like most popular choice nowadays to deploy web applications because it's very scalable. You only need to pay for how many servers you're going to use. It's not like a fixed disk. So we can nicely scale up our apps. At first, we'll only need to pay a little bit to AWS, and then as we grow more and more, and we get more and more revenue, we can afford to pay also AWS more and more for their servers. And it also gives you a wide range of services like EC2, RDS, Lambda, and so on. And also provides additional tools like CloudFormation and Elastic Beanstalk. So this will makes it like the top choice to deploy and manage web applications on the cloud. So now we'll see the working of the application. First, we'll be sent to the login page. From the login page, we'll gather the user's credentials. Then we'll do account verification, and then after the verification is done, we'll know that we have valid credentials. And then we'll redirect them to the stock info page. And then from the stock info page, the user will enter a stock name, like he wants to track the stock and such. Then we'll give that stock to Alpha Vantage. It will give us a response about all the data that they have on the stock. And then we'll use D3JS and all to make it help better visualize the data. And then we can put this information easy to understand format back in front of the user. So this is how our application will work. And so now what are the challenges we face in this? Obviously, the main challenge is real-time data integration. Like how fast can we update this? Because in stock trading as such, like every second or even like every millisecond, you can say counts. Like the prices fluctuate this much. And so if you're making an app, we need to have very robust real-time data integration. So it needs to be like latency needs to be in like maybe less than 10 milliseconds, let's say, between our app and our servers. And now obviously we need security. We'll hold users' financial information, we'll hold their portfolios. So we need to like secure it properly in an encrypted format. And then we also need to like implement the government regulations such as like KYC. We can't just allow anyone to trade, and then anti-money laundering, these regulations that are there by the government, we also need to implement these. And now the performance and scalability. So obviously, as I've said, the stock market is like very sensitive to time. So we need this app should be very low latency and very high performance, even if there are a large number of users and a large number of market updates. So this is why the challenge is performance and scalability. So now I'll just show you the document that I've prepared for the app. So this is the table of contents, introduction. In the table of contents will be introduction, objective, key features, the technologies, how the application works, challenges, and conclusion. So this is all the introduction. This is almost entirely the same as the PPT. So you can just see introduction. It is a full stack web application, user-friendly platform, and which track stock market data. And then the objective is to provide overview of this. So then the key features, real-time stock market data, user authentication and security, the easy to understand format, responsive design. Then technologies, all the front-end technologies that we're going to use to build the app, back-end technologies, what APIs we're going to use, data visualization, authentication and security, real-time communication, testing and deployment. So everything is like the same as you can see. Now how this is going to work. So then working of application. So you can see the user interaction. The users will interact, they'll search for stocks, accessing market data. They'll try to manage a portfolio, they want to sell off some stocks and such. And then whatever the user it will be sent to the front end. And the front end will send requests to the back end, and it will try to validate the user before it does anything to the user portfolio. And then on the back end, it will receive the request After that, it will interact with the APIs to fetch what it needs. And then it processes the data and formats it in a proper this so that the user can understand the data. Now we need to do user authentication security. So the backend will perform user authentication. Then the user login credentials are validated. Then technologies like password hashing, encryption, and secure communications like HTTPS. This is like a given. We have to use HTTPS because we don't want anyone who is on the network also to see like what the user is sending and such. So we'll be using all this. Then data management. The real-time market data is retrieved from the APIs. Meanwhile, the user credentials and profiles are stored in MongoDB. So then finally, after this, all this is done, we'll respond to the user. So it will continuously be, data will continuously be fetched from the APIs and delivered to the front end. And then typically the response will be in a format like JSON, so that it's like, because JSON is meant for like web data transmission and such. And then finally, the front end will update again with the information that is needed. So the JavaScript function, the front end, it will receive the response and it will update the UI to show the changes that have been made. And then this is our challenges that we face, the challenge that we faced in building this app. And finally, the conclusion. So for the conclusion of the slide, we'll say that this real-time stock market data, it is an essential, it's a web application, it's an essential tool for investors who want to track their investments in real time. So because it will be available on your phone, you can like anytime of the day you want, you can like open, you can check your portfolio, you can see how it's doing as such, instead of having to like call your stockbroker, see who's managing your portfolio, and then ask them how that this is doing. And then application will provide an easy to understand format that will essentially lower the bar for entry for a lot of day traders and investors. And this will do this by displaying the stock market and only other essential information to the investors in relevant data and easy to understand format. And then the web application will be built using modern web technologies like React, Node, and MongoDB. So these are the references that I've used to prepare my PPT. If there are any questions, I'll take them now. I guess there are no questions. So thank you for listening to my presentation.
Right, Elritz. You are done, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Think about the PPT itself. See, your PPT is very well structured. I believe you have covered everything that is there too. When you started the presentation, there was a very practical hook story, which actually was eye-catching, and this was, I believe, very well explained by you. And can you just scroll up?
Yes, sir.
There was very good use of themes, and it was uh, there was use of flowcharts and pictorial presentation as well. I believe the documentation was mentioned in your deliverable, right?
Yes, in the task it was mentioned.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you're from web developer, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Uh, Overall, it was a very practical and very good presentation. Uh, there were there was like challenges mentioned. The documentation was there. Can you just scroll down?
Yes, sir.
Right. So when you go for the references, slide. Yeah. Okay. So you have. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That was about. That's what I was actually about to tell you. Like to explain each and every reference. But since you have already mentioned React.js and
Yes.
then that's self-explanatory, right?
Yes, sir.
So I believe the presentation is very well explained. Good. It was
Thank
a
you,
very,
sir.
very good presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Right. We'll go with Harsh Kumar now. Yeah, Harsh Kumar.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah. Good evening.
Just a second, please. Is my screen visible, sir?
Yeah, your screen is visible.
Sure.
Yeah, you can start.
So, good evening, everyone. I am Harsh from Rajiv Gandhi Institute of Petroleum Technology. I have currently finished my third year, and this is my second week of the stock screener project in Python. So we will create a database and we will research about the technical indicators here. So let's get started. In this presentation, we will delve into stock market data, explore various sources of information, as well as technical indicators that are there. We'll see volume parameters or anything else, etc., etc. We'll cover different filters and parameters used to screen stocks, understand the significance of technical indicators, and explore popular sources of stock market. Some APIs we'll delve into it. So let's dive in. So first of all, let me share a story with you. We had a free period in a college, and the students were from the finance background. The usual stuff was being taught in college, the bookish knowledge, and so anyone was not skilled, or they were getting bored with the academic stuff. One fine day, they had a free period, and a industry person came and out of nowhere taught them the technical analysis skills. Students found it very intriguing and interesting and started building their skill set, learning the different technical indicators. To the college surprise, that year, the placement went very high and almost all the students got placed as they focused on industry level technical indicators rather than just applying the bookish knowledge everywhere. So this is the short story which tells us about the importance of technical indicators that are there in a trader's life, and we'll build an application that that will like extract these technical indicators from different kind of financial APIs we'll be using. Let's see further. So for the contents, the sources of stock market data, how can we fetch the data? What are the technical indicators? How we technically analyze the data? How we filter using the filtering parameters? Then we'll see the database design, how we have designed the database in MySQL, and I will show you the demonstration, challenges faced, Q&A session, and conclusion. So let's move further. So sources of stock market data. There were various sources, but I found three to be very useful. The first one being Yahoo Finance, that I will use for the project. Alpha Vantage is another such API, and another sources. So let's see. So Yahoo Finance is a popular platform, uh, and it provides various financial information such as stock codes, charts, news, and company profiles. So it has features of tracking the portfolio of the company, watch list, etc., etc. It also offers filtering and various other parameters. Like we can filter based on market capitalization, sector, financial ratios, etc. And the data available is real time, and we need to use a trusted API, as stock market is very sensitive to time and other things. So the platform is known for its reliability and comprehensive data, making it a trusted source of stock market information. So the second one being Alpha Vantage. So Alpha Vantage is a financial data provider API for accessing real-time and historical data. It has time series, technical indicators, fundamental data, sector performance. Like they are already embedded in this API, and we can fetch it directly. So Alpha Vantage API allow developers to retrieve stock market data programmatically. Like for example, we can just use the API to program various filters and parameters that need to be there, for which will be embedded in our database. So this is what it means to say support for technical indicators and filters. So a wide range of technical indicators such as RSI, MACD, moving average convergence, convergent divergence, and other parameters that can be applied using Alpha Vantage. And for other sources, there were many. So I mentioned 4 of them: Bloomberg Terminal, Google Finance. Like Google has made a thing called, it is a web-based platform where we can see the charts, news, and other financial information. It's not extensive, so QuantDL is a platform that provides a wide range of financial, economic, and alternative data. Interactive Brokers is another such a brokerage firm that provides real-time market data. But I found Yahoo Finance, that is Y Finance, to be the most trustworthy. So I use that one. So let's delve into the second part of the presentation, that is the technical indicator. Our main motive in the stock market is to analyze the trend and make predictions, like when a user should sell a stock or when he should buy it. So there are some terms that we'll delve into and understand. Moving averages. There are different types: simple moving averages, exponential. There is relative strength index. So it is basically a number from 0 to 100 that is calculated, and it tells which stock is overbought or underbought. So let's see and understand each of these. So moving averages. So the simple moving average is basically the average price of a stock divided by the number of days. Like we'll sum of the closing prices. The stock market closes around 3 p.m. or so. So we'll sum up the stock prices and we'll divide it by number of days, that is periods. The exponential moving average is similar. The only difference being we'll put more weightage on recent days, like how the trend is changing and going forward. So moving averages are used to identify trends in stock prices. They also smooth out short-term price fluctuations and provide visual representation of stock directions. For example, this is the research report that we have been asked to make, and we can see the moving averages here, that the blue line here is one such moving average for a given period. So for the RSI, it is basically a number from 0 to 100, and like when this value is below 30, it means it is oversold. Like there is a potential scope for buying the stock, and when the number is above 70, it means there is a bubble being formed. So RSI is basically when the stock is compared to itself and its previous values. So RSI can confirm the momentum of a stock prediction moment. If the RSI is rising along the stock price, it indicates strong upward momentum. Conversely, it is true that if it is falling, then the momentum is not in favor of the stock that we are talking about. So here it is the graph. The green line shows that there is a potential like scope for buying this stock, and the red lines are just the opposite of that. So, and then moving averages, convergence, divergence. So this is the part where I struggled the most for making this project. We'll discuss why as we make the database for this. So MACD is calculated by subtracting 26 EMA from 12 EMA. So it is basically a signal line typically that represents like it shows how the trend is fluctuating or moving in accordance. Like it is typically a 9-day EMA of MACD line. So for example, like when the day is between 0 to 11, we can't calculate, or when the day is between 0 to 25, we can't calculate MACD, as it is a long-term thing, and like it is basically used to for options trading. I researched about this topic, and we'll see that from the day of 0 to 25, we won't be seeing any of this. So so this is the line, like it shows the overall trend, like 26-day EMA minus 12-day EMA, and there we can see that it follows a general pattern and trend there. So the other notable technical indicators were there, but as these three were, I found these three to be very sufficient. So Bollinger Bands consist of moving average and two standard deviation lines. They help identify price volatility and potential overbought and undersold stocks, oversold conditions. stochastic oscillator. There is another such indicator that we can find in another API. ADX, average directional index, measures the strength of a trend, that how trendy or how permanent this or how volatile the particular trend is. And the Fibonacci retracement is a tool used to identify potential support and resistance levels based on Fibonacci ratios. So it is one such another trend, and it like basically helps us to correct the prices. Like, okay, this is the wrong price, that a bubble is being formed, and this should be the actual price of a particular stock, considering the how much it is bought or market capitalization also. So so now we will delve into how should we design our database. So for the database, like we should be able to filter stocks on parameters, and the three most common parameters being the price related filters, the volume related filters, and the fundamental filters that we'll see. So for the price related filters, for the first point being, let us consider a stock. For example, if we take an MRF stock, it is like worth more than 50,000 rupees or so, like one of the most costliest stock in India. So we'll have a filter for the maximum or the minimum price of a stock, as many people can't afford a single stock for more than 50,000. So we are getting the idea. Price to earning ratio is another such term. So providing it insight into its valuation. This different investor may have different PE ranges based on their investment strategies. Dividend yield measures the annual dividend payment relative to the stock price. For example, Infosys or Wipro pays 1% or something to its shareholders. So we can filter the stocks based on the dividend provided by the company. There are other volume related filters. Average daily volume. For example, if a stock is rarely bought or sold, then we can't like take the stock as very volatile. Like if we buy a stock and it goes up, but nobody's there to buy our stock, then it's not a volatile one. So the average daily volume is the term that tells us about it. And the volume surge or unusual volume activity monitors the unusual or deflection in the current trend that can provide us potential trading opportunities. So there are other fundamental filters, that is the market cap of the, or basically it tells about the size of the company, how much large or how much permanent the company is in the market. Earning per share represents a company's profit dividend by its outstanding shares. Filtering based on earning per share helps identify company with consistent or improving profitability. If we take the example of Britannia, for example, in 2013, it was somewhere around in 5 to 7 years, we can see that its profit is increasing continuously with the supply. So okay, it's not mentioned. Its profit is increasing continuously with the price. So users who bought Britannia in 2013 or so nearly tripled their nearly the stock price got tripled in 2018. So this is another thing. So applying filters, like we should now. So we have now come to the part where we'll apply filters and indicators in stock market analysis. So first we'll select a stock, like we have discussed the various parameters for stock selecting. We'll filter the stocks on the parameter and the indicators that we have already discussed, that were the technical ones. Apply the discussed filtering parameters such as range, volume, fundamental ratios to narrow down the list of stocks. Additionally, incorporate technical indicators like moving averages, RSI, and MACD to further filter and refine the stocks. So and lastly, we'll interpret the results and make informed decisions. So the analysis will be done and the final output will be displayed, that whether we should buy or not. Interpret the results to identify potential investment opportunities or to make decisions on the specific trading strategies or investment goals. So we have come to the part where we will design the database considering all the parameters, all the points that we have already discussed like the stock filtering, parameter technical analysis, and all those stuff. So I have used my SQL database, and and we can like see. So let me go to the workbench. So we have created this stock data using selecting a stock that I will show. So so let me just yeah. So as we can see, we have used Yahoo Finance API here, and it's a dependency that we have installed. We'll use NumPy for the list of these stock prices, and we are connecting this to MySQL. So here is it, and the password has been taken for another file. So we are like taking the stock price of Apple, like for every stock that we want to analyze. This API takes the ticket name. For example, for Apple company, it's AAPL. So we'll analyze, and for the start and end date we have been given, that will be provided. So this is the main thing, that we are downloading the data using this API that takes the ticket name, as I already mentioned, Apple, and the start and end date. So this is it. And the other like now here main calculations are being done, and we are just trying to make a table out of it, like okay, average loss is this one, and we should maintain a table for the window size being 14, and we'll take mean of that. That means we'll divide it by 14 or so. So this is the connection part, like we are just trying to make a database connection from this program to our MySQL. And this is the main part, the design of our database. The primary key being the date. That is very important. We have open, high, low. Let me just show you the database that we have here. So this is the database that was found considering the start and end date been discussed. So as I already told, for the first 50 days, we can't count this MA, and we don't have this MACD line until it's like until it's 25 days. At least we need 26 days for counting this. So we have high, low, close value for the particular day, volume of the stock that was traded, and all those other stuff. So this is the MACD line curve that I mentioned. This is the slope of that line. This is the 12-day EMA, 26-day EMA, right? And this is the histogram thing, that how much area it occupies here. So basically it's like, it basically tells like the stock is going up or down. We can just intuit from this. So, and this part I will discuss in the challenges part. And yeah, this was that. So for the challenges, first I mainly incurred two challenges. The first one being, as Yahoo Finance API provided many parameters, I have to filter the parameter of our use and calculate the indicators. Like we have to filter it, and then like we don't need to use another like unimportant things. So this is the design of the database table that I took screenshot from the code. And another thing being, let me show the database itself. So here we can see that the 50-day EMA for day 12 or day from day 1 to day 49, it's 0, and for the RSI also it's 0. And we can see similar values, like when some parameters requires a specific days of data, specific number of data points, then obviously this row, this cell will be empty. But in Python, it's written as not a number. So basically we have to iterate over each cell and if it's empty, like if this data is not contained, then we have to simply replace it with 0. So this was one such difficulty that I faced. And then any question and answers are welcome. Like you can ask any questions if we have. And this is the GitHub link. So I guess there are no questions. So I studied the task reference that was given there, and this was basically the website that I like took idea that like how we can categorize the parameters or so. And in conclusion, understanding different sources of stock market data and the significance of technical indicators is crucial for effective stock market analysis. By exposing various data sources like Yahoo Financial, Alpha Vantage, and learning about technical indicators such as MA, RSI, MACD, one can gain invaluable insight into stock selection and trading strategies. Remember, thorough research and analysis are key to successful trading. So this was it from my side. Thank you.
Right, I believe it's over.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so let's talk about the demo first. Okay, there was a very good demonstration, and it's commendable. Like you covered everything in the chart, or like how it goes, and every term you explained there itself. Talking about the PPT, I want to point out few things. Like, see, when you explained the PPT, you were lacking confidence, and there were too many stoppage in between explanation part. So, to tackle that, you can just practice beforehand. Like, it's like you just made the PPT and right away you're giving presentation. But it shouldn't happen like that. Try to at least practice once or twice. Second thing,
Sure, sir.
in the upper slides, can you just scroll up towards, I believe, 9-10 slide? Right here, right here. 8th slide. Right, so taking example for the 8th slide, go for the 8th. Right, so while you were explaining these terms, when you explain certain things, now, either you mention them or don't mention them. There are only two things. See, if I am looking at a slide having containing too much data, right? So I'll expect you to relay those terms and explain them, right? But while you were explaining them, there were so many points where you just said etc etc, right? So do I have to read that, or you are going to read that? Because if you are not going to read that, please don't mention that.
Sure.
Okay, right. So by doing that, you can just cut out all the paragraphs which you are using in individually in each point, right? So it will not look so much congested. Secondly, as I said, the demo was good. The ending part, you used like a single conclusion. With all so many data gathered, there can't be only single references. Yeah,
Okay.
it's only like single reference. There, you got the data set from the from your task itself, right? You could have
Yahoo Finance.
Yeah, you could have mentioned that as well in the reference slide, but there is only single reference. Try to add more references.
Sure, sir, sure.
And then while you were explaining the document part, you directly skipped everything which was up there and directly went for the graph. Right. So was not that part not important, or it was just similar to?
Just a second, sir. Actually, sir, we have been asked to submit this research report separately for invigilation. So I thought like we have to resubmit it for invigilation.
That's
so
fine.
That was the repetitive stuff.
Right. That's fine, because this documentation is your demo part, and explanation of demo is important, because you will get the marks accordingly. Right. So have you submitted both PPT and document in the technical support?
Yes, sir. I just given the link of the GitHub repo.
Okay.
So it is embedded there.
Yeah, but with that you have to submit the PPT and the document as well because they are submittable, right?
Yes, sir. Should I submit like
Yeah, you should.
I can share the link in the technical chat or I can create a Google Doc and just share in the
Yeah, you
technical chat.
can. Yeah, you can do that as well.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Okay, I believe that's all from my side.
Thank
Right.
you, sir.
Yeah, sure. Right. So next we have Khalid Ansari with us.
Am I visible?
Yeah, you are visible and audible as well.
So my screen is visible now.
Yeah, screen is visible. Okay, you can start.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Khalid Ansari, and I'm from the Web Developers Group. And this is a presentation on my task 3 project timeline for the project Real-Time Stock Market Data Web Application. Now, why project timeline? We received a project which was to develop a real-time stock market data web app, and I made a synopsis of it as discussed in the previous presentation. As this app has lots of different requirements like user authentication, security, pulling data from APIs, front-end and back-end development, one cannot simply use exploratory style, that is build and fix model, simply code and fix errors and bugs when encountered to develop the web app, since it's not a small task. The whole project needs to be divided into smaller modules and assigned a time slot and appropriate team for the development of particular modules. Finally, all the modules need to be integrated together to get the end project. Hence the need of project timeline, which would show different modules of the project, time slot and order of module development allotted. Only then it's possible to get a successful end project. So continuing with the presentation. In the presentation, we have this is a table of contents. We have project overview, which shows the simple summary of the project which was given. What is project timeline? What is the need of project timeline? Steps to create project timeline. What is the Gantt chart? The documentation and the project timeline Gantt chart, and the challenges, conclusion, and references. Moving on, this is the project overview. Basically, real-time stock market data web application. It's a full stack web application which tracks real-time stock market data in an easy and it displays in an easy to understand format. It's useful for investors, traders, and financial professionals to make decisions for investing in stocks. Also, it provides authentication and security features and is also responsive. Now, what is project timeline? A project timeline is a visual list of tasks or activities placed in chronological order, which lets one view the entirety of project plan in one place. It offers an overview of all the required tasks along with their assignments, priority levels, and milestones. Basically, a good project timeline, it's in-depth and easy to interpret. Typically, we use Gantt charts to represent project timeline. Need of project timeline. These are the 5 advantages of project timeline. We have increased accountability. Detail-oriented approach keeps everyone on task and on schedule. A project timeline improves accountability so that everyone knows who is doing what. Moreover, it allows other team members to get involved quickly and efficiently when relaying correct info to team members. 2, progress tracking. Gets a clear picture of how the project is progressing with checkpoints and milestone indications. Let's say if one happens to fall behind, project timeline can help recognize when falling behind a due date as soon as possible, and hence one can react quickly. Time management. Properly plan the project with the timeline. Time has a starring role in success of any project. A delay can be very damaging to project development. It's easier to avoid working mindlessly on tasks. Instead, a team will focus each week on what needs to be done. 4, prioritization. With a project, one needs to be flexible. A timeline helps set clear priorities and directions so that most critical tasks are cleared out of the way first. 5th, motivation. Motivation can be a driving force behind a project. Some team members find it easier to stay motivated when they can see the timeline, as it helps sharpen focus and discipline. These are the steps to create timeline. Step 1, write and approve a project plan. In this step, we have 2 things. 1, essential questions to answer. That is, what is the scope of project, goals, stakeholders, and requirements. And 2, it's attainable goals, project scope, and understanding the project objectives. Step 2, generate a work breakdown structure, that is WBS. Break down the larger deliverables into smaller modules that can be managed and monitored. The WBS helps your team stay focused on the details. Step 3, create specific project tasks. There are 3 steps in this. 1, create subtasks from the work breakdown structure. 2, assign priorities, deadlines, and responsible people. 3, update regularly to ensure all details are correct. Step 4, sequence steps and estimate time required. Tasks need to be completed in certain order and may have task dependencies. Estimate how long it will take to complete each task and map out a realistic timeline. Step 5, we have choose project timeline software. For example, there are many project dynamic softwares like Gantt chart, Agile approach like Kanban, but in this particular project, we are choosing Gantt chart. Step 6, construct the project timeline. List all tasks, timeframes, honors, and dependencies in software tool chosen. Finally, the last step, share the project timeline. That is basically communicate the final project timeline to team members to ensure everyone has a clear understanding of the priorities, responsibilities, and deadlines. Now, what is a Gantt chart? A Gantt chart is a visual project management tool that illustrates the scheduled tasks and dependencies of a project over time in a horizontal bar chart format. It provides clear and organized representation of the project timeline, allowing project managers and team members to track progress, allocate resources, and manage task dependencies effectively. Now we'll see the documentation. So my documentation is visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
So this is the documentation for the project timeline. And this is my contact details. We have the table of contents. We have introduction, objective, requirements, technologies, project timeline overview, and the references along with the page numbers. This is the introduction for what is the real-time stock market data application. It introduces and what all are the requirements and what technologies we use. Objective. The objective of this documentation is to provide project timeline for the development of real-time stock market data web app. These are the requirements for the web app: real stock market data, user authentication and security, easy to understand format, and responsive design. These are the technologies used. In the front end, we use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React.js. In the backend, we use Node.js, Express.js, MongoDB. In the API technologies, we use AlphaVantage API and News API. And for authentication and security, we use JSON Web Tokens and SSL, TSL certificates. And for the deployment, we use Amazon Web Services. Now, the project timeline overview. Basically, the whole project is like given 2 months, the whole duration, and the project is broken down into weekly tasks. Additionally, in each task, it will have 2 subtasks that need to be completed. In the first month, we basically develop most of the front end part. In the second month, we develop the back end part, most of them. In the first month, in the first week, we have the introduction to React.js, that is understanding the components, JSX syntax, and state management in React.js. And the duration given would be around 5 days. The task 2, that is the setting of the development environment. We install Node.js, create new React.js application, and set up basic file structure. In week 2, we have the styling the application and implementing user authentication. We style the application using CSS and SASS to create a responsive design. And we use, to implement user authentication, we use JSON Web Tokens and Passport.js. The duration given is 3 days for that. Week 3, we have pulling data from APIs, and that is basically we understand the AlphaVantage API and use it to pull the real-time stock market data. And also we display the data on front end using React.js components to display it in an easy to understand format. In the week 4, we implement search functionality and also the testing and debugging. Testing, basically there are 4 main types of testing we do: unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. Here we only do the unit testing and integration testing basically. Unit testing is basically each module will be tested separately, and integration, while trying to integrate 2 modules, we do that integration testing. The system testing and acceptance testing will be done after the whole completion of the whole project. And this testing and debugging will be done in other tasks as well. Now in the month 2, we have, in the first week, we implement the data visualization using chart libraries such as D3.js or Chart.js. And in the task 2, we have handling errors and edge cases. In the week 2, we have the building the backend. We build the backend of application using Node.js and Express.js, and we also create the APIs to handle user authentication, data retrieval, and data manipulation. In the week 3, we are integrating the news API to display relevant news articles to selected stock. And we implement the real-time updates as well to ensure that data display is always up to date. And finally, in week 4, we do optimization. That is, we say optimize performance using techniques such as code splitting, lazy loading, and caching. And deployment of application, before deploying, we do the system testing, where basically we check if all the requirements, the user requirements are met, which were like mentioned. And then and we also do the acceptance testing, means we are ready to deploy it. And finally, we deploy the application, that is using on a web server such as Heroku or Amazon Web Services. And these are the references which I use for the front-end technologies, back-end technologies, APIs, data processing and analysis, authentication, security, and deployment. Now back to the presentation. The presentation is visible?
Yes.
Yes. So this is the this is my Gantt chart. So this is the Gantt chart. In this Gantt chart, this symbol represents the duration, and this represents the milestone. Here, basically these all are the tasks which were like, these are all the tasks which are there. In each week, we have 2 tasks. In total, there are 2 months in 4 weeks in each month. And so total tasks would be like 16 tasks are there. And these represent, this arrow represents, inside the arrow, there are numbers. Basically, this represents how much days are assigned to it, almost around 5 days. So basically, introduction to React.js, the setting up of development environment, styling the application, and implementing user authentication. Basically, this till here, it's a major key milestone. Basically, this milestone means that all these needs to be completed in this before the start of week 4. Like if some delay is there or some issue are there, it needs to be fixed in this time frame. Extra time frame is given, you can fix in that. And then similarly, we have the pulling data from API, display front end, add search functionality, and testing and debugging. Here also it's a major key milestone. And similarly, these all are there. And finally, this is the final milestone, the deployment of the application. And also we can, if you want to add extra features to the Gantt chart, like team members we want to show, we can add another column here. And which if we assign it to the team members, we can write the names. Also, we can write the dates if we want, like from this date to this date, it will be like given the due date and all. So these are the extra features we can add. Now, there are some challenges faced as well. Now, these are the challenges: gathering accurate and comprehensive information, organizing the information, determining the appropriate timeline format, and handling dependencies and constraints. This is important because this shows like if some team members are not able to complete, how we will handle them and what could be done. These are all challenges which needs to be addressed. Now, finally, the conclusion slide. A timeline document is a powerful tool for visualizing the sequence of events, tasks, or milestones in a project or event. It provides a clear and concise overview of the timeline and facilitates effective communication with stakeholders. Project timeline is dynamic and may need adjustments throughout the project lifecycle. Flexible and regular monitoring is crucial to ensure successful project completion. These are the references I used for creating the project timeline. This introduces a project timeline. This also shows how to create a timeline. This introduced to Gantt chart, and this shows how to create Gantt chart in PPT. Thank you. If any questions, you can ask, or you can just contact the details. Yes,
Right. So your presentation is over, right?
yes, sir.
Okay. Are you taking any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you know any alternative for Gantt chart?
Yes, sir. There is horizontal bar chart and all we can use, but it is not as like it's not as good as Gantt chart. It won't show much as detailed into it.
Like, what are the shortcomings for that of that application and that software and this? What can you think of?
Basically,
Why are you told to go with the Gantt chart and not that?
in that I searched a little bit. There were like in that we just add the like the dependencies, but we don't show the duration completely using this thing, and like we can't show how much completion will be done and all. In Gantt chart we can add that feature like completion, how much it can be done. We can update it in real time. Those are the
So
stuff.
updation part is the shortcoming for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I was just getting to the curiosity point, whether since not blindly doing the task and going for the alternative, why this was not assigned and only this was assigned. I was just checking that. Right. Talking about the PPT, the PPT is explained very well, and I believe we covered everything, every aspect of the presentation. It started well, and try to keep separate slide for thank you and Q&A. Okay,
Yeah.
at the end. And I believe the demo part was explained as well properly, and that's all from my side. Okay.
Thanks. Can you stop sharing?
Yeah, you can stop sharing now.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So next we have Mohammad Saim with us.
Audible?
Yeah, you're audible and visible as well.
Share my share screen. Visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Mohammad Saim. I'm from the Data Engineers group. The topic for my today's presentation is predictive modeling. This is my third task in the probationary internship period. So let's get into it. First, let's see what the contents and the structure we'll be going through. So first, of course, like we'll go through a short introduction of what is predictive modeling and what are the use cases of it, maybe a short story example. Then we will see what the data set is all about and what features it contains. Then we will explore some feature selection methods, that what features are important. Then we'll move to the modeling part, that what models that we have employed. And finally, the evaluation part on which metrics that we are evaluating the model. So the problem statement is like predicting exam scores with supervised machine learning. So if I had to like very elaboratively say, we had to actually predict the math score, but in the data set we are given all the exam scores, so we'll have to take into consideration that. So let's come into like what is predictive modeling. So predictive modeling like is the process of creating mathematical or machine learning model. So what is the use case of it? So these are used to conclude or take relationships or historical data from the past and take these into like in a summarized version and see like what future variable or future prediction that we can make that is useful for us. So it actually uses many feature selection process, and it also uses machine learning models to accurately like predict the future data of any variable. And what is the advantages of it? The advantages are mainly that it can be used for like identifying trends and like any type of visualization that we need to do. It's very beneficial for us. So let's understand the advantages of predictive modeling through a short example. So suppose like in your local city, like you have or someone your friend has opened up a bakery, and the whole deal with the bakery is that all the material, whatever you're making breads or cakes, anything that should be fresh. So you have to produce that on a daily basis. Now, for example, you don't know like how many customers will come on the first day or how many customers will come on the second day. You prepare a lot of amount of cakes and all on the first day. but on the end of the first day, there is some amount of food that is left over. So actually, in the bakery business, you cannot actually present the customer with that old cake on the second day, because it will uh, go down with your reputation. So what you have to do is you have to every day serve the fresh cake. So it can be the case that maybe someday the cake or the bakery item is left over. In some cases, the bakery item is sold before the closing of the shop. So like for example, if any customer comes for like asking for a specific cake, you do not have the particular resources, or the resources are already sold up, so you cannot make any type of bakery item on that particular day. So this is a problem. So like, what should you do? So this is where predictive modeling comes in. So what you can do is, if you are running the bakery, you can actually collect data. Like for example, on a weekly trend or on a monthly trend, see, okay, like maybe like on Saturdays and Sundays, the crowd is much more than like on normal weekdays, and maybe like in the evening, the crowd is a bit more populated than like in the early morning. So after collecting so much data, you can actually like visualize, and you can actually take some predictions that, okay, like on this particular day, I need to have this much amount of cakes and other bakery stuff so as to meet the items of the day. So once you are done with it, you can actually apply these visualizations, apply these results in your actual business, so that it can lead to like more efficient results, and the whole business booms up. So coming to the data set, what we have, so we have a total of 8 features with gender, race, like the race is not actually mentioned, but it's just like a class A, class B type race. Parent level of education, like till how much your parents have actually studied. Lunch period, like what type of lunch you are taking, how much preparation you have actually taken, and then the 3 scores, which are the math score, reading score, and the writing score. So to like, the whole problem is that we have to like assess the students' performance in the exam. So like for example, these 4 features are more important to us, which is like how much preparation you have done till now, and what are your scores for the examination, so that we'll be predicting particularly the math score. So these are some of the data set visuals that we generated using Python. So like based on ethnicity or races, for example, you can see there is a variation of each group. So like we cannot actually deduce some very meaningful amount of data set from it. But you can see like the group C has a more weightage, and group A has the least weightage. Based on gender, the ratio of female is a bit just a bit more than the male population. And based on the preparation, that how many people have actually like prepared. So like many of them have not actually like prepared till now, and some of the percentage that have completed till now. So this is the scores distribution based on gender. So like this is just one visualization, like I thought should be maybe like very meaningful if we put that in a presentation, that male versus female who have prepared for what. So we actually had to predict only the math score, but like for plotting versions have taken all 3 scores. So for example, if you see that like the male scores, male preparation for the like the math scores, you will see that they have prepared more for maths, but less for the reading and writing part, pitted against the math score. However, like if you see the writing scores, these are just intermixed. That means like you cannot conclude that which gender has actually prepared more for that writing score. So this is a visualization. Now coming to like after like we have seen the data set, the second process is data pre-processing. That what before like actually modeling our data, what pre-processing methods that we can take so that our model can evaluate better on the metrics. So first is categorical encoding, which is we have the data in string parts, which is like in textual data, we can convert it into numeric data. And this is like no mystery that why we convert it to numeric data. The reason being like machine learning models understand better when the model is actually in the numeric binaries and like in the number system. So it helps us evaluate better. Second is removing redundancy. So redundancy is like any value which is repeating over time and has like a lot of weightage, or maybe they have any like duplicate or null values to it. So that we can remove. And third is like dropping irrelevant features. So for example, the prime example for would that be like if I go back to like actually the if you see like we have the fourth one, we have lunch. So you will like automatically deduce that okay, lunch for the most part would not have any like effect on what is the performance of the students. And this we'll elaborate in when we see the code. So this done the pre-processing the data set. Now, third is feature scaling, like what features that we should select. So we talked one about it, one of it, that we should not take the lunch data set in our like prediction because it does not really affect it. And secondly, scaling. So scaling is something like we are normalizing the data so that any one feature does not dominate upon all the other features. So that's why this is one of the main reasons that we do feature scaling. And it's in our code that we have used min-max scaling that we'll see in the code, which converts it into a value of 0 to 1. Yeah, the models for prediction. So there are ample of predictions, model predictions that you can take. It can be like it. You can take a number of models. So like for example, for demonstration purposes, I have taken these 4 models: the support vector, distant tree, random forest, logistic regression. Like if I had to give a short detailing about everything, so support vector machines actually draws a hyperplane, and the vector points around that are grouped according to the closeness of from the hyperplane. Distant tree, what it does is consists of nodes, and these nodes keep splitting up based upon the features. And at the end or at the leaf node, what you have is you have the predicted value. What is random forest? So random forest is actually like ensembling of the distant trees only. So what it does is combines multiple distant trees, and based on it, it performs voting. And whichever predicted value has a higher weightage, that is chosen to be the result. And finally, which is the most common one, is the logistic regression part, which actually uses a threshold value. Normally, it's a 0.5 value that if the predicted variable is above 0.5, then it can be labeled as true or not as false. So we'll go through the code that why we are actually like labeling it when it's a prediction task. So let's go through the code. Just a second. So okay, so I hope my like screen is visible for the like Jupyter notebook. Uh, like first you can see like this is the data set of our like predicting modeling. So first we have imported data set. We had it from Kaggle. So here you can see all the data sets. So we have like gender, we have the race and ethnicity divided into groups, parental level of education. At max it goes to the master's degree. In visualization, we found that like the parents who were having master's degree had some effect upon the preparation of the student. Lunch, it's divided into two, like what the student is receiving. It's a free or reduced fee lunch, or like he's bringing his own, or like getting the standard lunch. And here's the test preparation, which has to actually like can be said like as a binary type value, which will be converted into like it's either 0 or 1, so like none or completed. And these are the scores. So coming here, we have like actually like taken them into categorical features for that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 for. So we have just converted into numeric data, and we have dropped the lunch category, and then we can describe it. So here we have used the mean and standard deviation to like see what how much amount of like variation is through for the categorical data set. For example, 0 is for female, 1 is for male. So just like that. So if 0 is for female and 0.48, that means like we saw in the visualization that female has a more weightage. That's why it's a bit less than 0.5. So now coming to the visualization, this we discussed in our presentation, like this female ratio is more than male. This is just some EDA, just to have a more detailing of the task. And if we now come to the, this is the pre-processing part. So we have taken the match score as the target score. That means that we have added like a target score to this. So this we'll be predicting across it. And we have taken again, then this is the target score that have like, which we will just then eliminate. So this we added here like represent, and then now this will be predicted. So you can see there is like no match score now. So that is what we are predicting. in addition to it, like I have like divided into two labels. That is, you can either like fail or pass. So, and I have like just set the category to 50. It's just like for visualization that, okay, maybe let's say it's a 50% or more that you need to pass. So like on that basis, it can classify. Here we have used min-max scaler for scaling. So we talked about the normalization process that scaling is used for. So like min-max scaler, what it actually does is it converts it into a value between 0 to 1. So that if any value has a higher weightage, it can be condensed between 0 and 1. Okay. So like now we will do the train test splitting. So it's the standard train test split, that is 0.8, 0.2, like 80% training data set and 20% testing data split. And then we'll start applying a model. So first is the logistic regression model on which we'll fit the model. And we had to actually, main thing is actually accuracy. So for logistic, it was 90.5. But like if you want to like classify the reports based upon the precision recall and F1 score that we'll see in our evaluation, it actually gives those values also. And similarly, second, this is the logistic regression. This is the support vectors. So support vectors actually a bit more optimized than logistic regression, 91.5. And decision tree and the decision tree and random forest perform the best, that they achieve both 99.5. So we can conclude from here that like the tree based models were like highly optimized for this. There might be a case of overfitting. That means like it was not exposed to like much of the training data. Because we have, I think, a total of 1,000 columns with us. However, like, but we can see that it performed well. This is a correlation analysis. So you can see here, if you see the target score pitted against like the other scores, so you see there's a high correlation between the target score and the other scores. Like for example, target score and the math score is the same. So it will obviously have a correlation of 1. With the reading writing score, it's a high correlation, but it does not have much correlation with other features. So, and finally, with the random forest, gave out a similar accuracy of 99.5, and cross validation was actually 99.9. So again, I said like it can be a case of it can be a case of overfitting, but if we like conclude on all 4 models, the 2 tree-based models that were random forest and distant tree, they perform the best. And like if we had to visualize the accuracy, so you can see the distant tree and random forest were touching the one boundary, and like the logistic regression and support vectors had around 0.9 accuracy. So coming back to my presentation. So now evaluation metrics, when we saw accuracy, which is the ratio of correctly predicted samples to the total number of samples. There were three more measures, which are the precision recall and F measure. Precision actually records how many true positive and false positive we have recorded against the entire data set. Recall actually is similar, but it does not take the true negatives, but it takes the false negatives. So it is like a more accurate determination of the data set if we were to talk about how much accurate we are. And lastly, F measure is just like the weighted mean of precision and recall. So it takes the precision and recall, some setup, and averages it up, so that we can take it up and like okay, we can conclude that okay, like precision and recall together, what value they are giving. And for the conclusion part, so like we started with like what is predictive modeling, saw a story example, then we explored the data set and what pre-processing was done upon it. Then we saw like what the feature selection process used. So we used min-max scaler for that. And for modeling, we used logistic, distant tree, random forest, and support vector machines, out of which the tree-based models, which are distant tree and random forest, performed very well. And evaluation was based upon mainly on accuracy, and a classification report was also generated, precision recall and F measure, to determine like if the student is passing or failing. And coming to the references, the first reference is actually like a Medium article, which I read for predictive modeling. Second is the data set that we were provided. Third was actually a paper on a particular data set. So it's an interesting paper because it explores many more models, like boosting models also, that can be used in future works for this particular project. So these are the 3 references. And thank you, and questions are welcome.
I believe it's over.
Yes.
Right. So, see, your presentation was very well explained. Now, when we talk about the PPT, The theme was very good. There was use of very good colors, graphs, flowcharts, and you actually explained it in very good manner. Uh, That was the very best part of the presentation. The story, the hook story was very good, very practical, and I believe this was actually the best presentation for this topic of what I have heard before. So yeah, it covers everything, literally everything. You can just scroll down. Right. So there again, just try to split the thank you and Q&A slide at the end. Okay. And yeah, and in the Q&A, go for the contact link. Right. That's all from my side. Right. So let's move forward. We have Ashish with us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You have the presentation, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Mohammad, you can stop sharing your screen.
Hello, sir. Shall I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it visible, sir?
Not yet.
Just a bit.
Right, Ashish. So what's your task?
Sir, it exploratory data analysis, sir. Is it visible now?
Yeah, now it's visible. Yeah, you can start.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So good evening. My name is Ashish Krishna Devte, and I worked on this project known as exploratory data analysis for Hackveda. So moving on to the first part, table of contents. Introduction, problem statement, flowchart, what is EDA, steps involved in data analysis, why logistic regression, Q&A, and references. So introduction, to analyze and investigate data sets and summarize their main characteristics, often employing data visualization methods. So this is where I explained what are the methods and what are the different things I'm going to mention in this project. Then problem statement, to perform exploratory data analysis on a given data set to gain insights into the data and identify patterns, trends, and anomalies, to use descriptive analytical techniques to summarize and visualize the data. So basically the project is all about there is this data of credit card, and we are going to do the credit card fraud detection. Next one, flowchart. So flowchart goes like load the data set, then we'll explore the data set, pre-process the data set, then check for missing values, check for outliers, then feature engineering, then split the data into training and testing. Then we'll perform logistic regression, then we'll evaluate the model performance, then interpret the result. So first we'll need to know what is EDA. So exploratory data analysis, which includes to analyze the data to find out patterns and trends. It's just a method or approach to analyze the data set, to know the different things that are included in data sets. So steps involved in data analysis. So first step is we are going to import the data, in which our case we are going to import the credit card data. Then we are going to pre-process the data. Then we are going to analyze that data, split that data into the training data set and the testing data set. Then we'll apply the logistic regression model on that particular data set. Then we'll evaluate it. So the first question comes in our mind is why logistic regression? And I mentioned the point over here is for conditional probability. To put it in a simpler ways, the data we are going to deal with is a credit card fraud detection, which is in a binary condition, whether the data has a fraudulent 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 use or legitimate use. So this is just a yes or no type decision we have to take. So in in these cases, we mostly go for logistic regression. Moving on to the implementation, the first we will implement the different libraries or dependencies for this particular project. Then we'll implement, so to start with, we'll implement NumPy, Pandas, then different libraries of sklearn, which include train test split, then logistic regression model, and the accuracy score. Firstly, we will import the data set. So for doing that, we'll use this function known as read_csv. It is a predefined function in PD, pandas library. And then we'll use the head function. Though without giving any attribute to the head function, we'll just get the first 5 rows of the data set, which are as follows. Then these are the 5 rows of the data set, and these are different different columns in our data set, including time, v1, v2, and so on. Also, we'll use the tail function as well. This column also, there are those columns are till 28, and then amount and class. So class is just an integer type, and then we have till 28. V28 we have them in a boolean float type. We'll use the tail function for the that tail function will give us the last 5 rows of the model data set. Also, we'll use the isNull method. IsNull method shows that if we have any null value in our data set, then it will be printed as well. Moving on to the next one, we'll use the value count. Value count function. It counts the values, and we are using that value count for the class. So it shows that how many class has zeros as a 0 value and 1. So basically, this 0 means 0 is for a legitimate transaction, and 1 is for fraudulent transaction. So we have 284,315 legitimate transactions and 492 as a fraudulent transactions. Now as we know this much information, we are going to separate this for the further analysis, and giving them the name as legit and fraud. So we are going to using this shape method, we are going to print legit.shape, which will give us the shape of the legitimate data. Then we'll use the describe function for the amount, and we'll get this data, which is like count, mean, standard, mean, which generally means all the details about that particular amount thing, like 25%. This is not a percentile, this is a percentage thing. Means 25% times the amount has been deducted from your account is nearly equal to 5.65 dollars. This is the data from the America, country of America. That's why it's in a dollar. So moving on to the next part, we'll look onto the group by function, and we'll use the mean function, which will show us the mean of all the details regarding legitimate data and fraudulent data. So it shows if we look onto the v1, it shows that v1 has a 0.00 value, and for v1 and for the fraudulent it's minus 4.76, which means it has not that much of a difference. So we'll use the sample function to get the 492 and put n number is equals to 492. So what we are trying to do here is like if we are trying to build a model, then we should have the equal number of fraudulent and legitimate data. So right now we have 492 number of fraudulent data. So we are trying to pick a random 492 legitimate data from the legitimate data that we have to begin with, which was the number like 2 lakhs and 84 something. Now we'll try use the concat function to concatenate this data set. Then we'll use the head function. As we use the head function, we'll see that these are the random data sets, data appeared in front of us. Then also we'll go with the tail function as well. Moving on to the next one. Now we'll do the value counts. So here it shows that the number of new, as I use the new data frame, the number of fraudulent data and number of legitimate data is equal right now, because we did the last part, like sample data set, we tried to equivalent it. Moving on to the next step. Now we are trying to we declared a variable x in which we are going to drop the columns from class and we are declaring a variable y in which we are going to store the class. You will understand it on the as we move further. We are just printing the y and x variables there. Now we are trying to train training data and testing data. To do that, we are going to declare some variables such as x train, x test, y train, y test. Now we'll use the sklearn function which has been declared in the earlier step, which is train test split, in which we are going to use test size as 0.2. The 0.2 here means that we are going to use 20% of the data for the training purpose, testing purpose. And now we are going to print x dot shape, x train dot shape, x test dot shape, which may in this what are we trying to print is x dot shape means 984 comma 30. This shows that the total data size, which is 492 plus 472 plus sorry, how much was it? First let me check once again. Okay, 492. It was 492 plus 492, which gives us a total number of 984. Then we'll do the text xtrench dot shape, which gives us a 787, which is 80% of the data we are going to train, and xtest dot shape, which is 20% of the data we are going to test. So it gives the number 197. Now to use the logistic regression over this model, we are going to declare a variable model, and we use the particular function logistic regression. Now by doing this, we are going to use that particular regression method, xtrain prediction is equals to model dot predict xtrain. Now using this method, we are going to see the that the accuracy score is a predefined function which we are going to use, which we use to predict that this model scores which is equal to 0.9313 and so on. And we are this is the training model. Okay, so if we do this same method on the testing model as well, so x underscore test prediction, all this code, and if we run this, we'll get the data, and which is equals to 0.9035 something. So this shows that there is no that much difference between 0.93, which is the legitimate value. So our this just shows that our training model has a right accuracy, and it agrees with the testing model as agrees with the testing. So this is pretty much the coding part. That was the pretty much coding part. Applications of EDA. So we use EDA, exploratory data analysis, in healthcare, marketing, fraud detection, and food industry, etc. Moving on to the next one, references. I used YouTube channel or a YouTube video I searched, and this is the reference for the YouTube word where I searched for EDA. And also I used a website Geeks for Geeks, and I searched what is the EDA. Q&A. If you have any doubt, you can just ask me. Thank you very much. That's it, sir.
Right. Exploratory data analysis, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. So why do you do EDA?
Sir, can I stop sharing?
No, you don't stop sharing. You can just continue.
Okay. What is it, sir?
Why?
Why?
What's the need for the EDA?
So, sir, what we trying to do is the different. There are types and trends in the data. Like there are different kinds of columns are going to be in the data. Now we have to do the analysis on that data to predict the future. That's what we are trying to do. So exploratory data analysis is the first step for that particular analysis.
Okay, fair enough. Right. So in the very first, can you just scroll up?
Okay.
Yeah. So in the very first content, I believe second or third slide, it was load the data set.
Okay.
Right. But there was no data set shown. You directly jump on the main terms and skipped that part. Secondly, see, that was part of the demo, which you have put the snippets of all the document, Jupyter
Yes, sir.
notebook.
Yes, sir.
So that shouldn't be done like that. They are both separate. You'll get separate marks for each. Right? So instead of just adding snippets, go for
Okay.
the demo, go for your book and explain it there itself and not the
Yes,
snippet. Right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How would I know that it's your snippet?
Sir, actually, the thing is like at my last presentation, sir told us that we should add some snippet and explain it through the PPT. That's why, but I do have the actual presentation slide. Sorry,
A demo.
actual demo.
Right. Sir told you to add snippets for terms which are you are going to use.
Okay, okay. Sorry, sir.
Add from that, yeah. And you can use some pictorial presentation and everything for the PPT part. The demo
Yes.
part is entirely different, right?
Okay, sir. Sorry.
And you explained your demo properly, and that was a good thing that you stuck at somewhere. And you then you continued,
Okay.
which was actually a good part. Then at the very end, you skipped conclusion slide. There was no conclusion at the end. You should add, right? And
Yes.
I believe at the very start itself, you can add a decent good hook story, you know, at the very start instead of just directly going for why do you do ADA on certain things.
Okay.
Of how ADA came into picture, what was the need for ADA,
Okay.
right?
Bit of it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that would be added for the book story,
Yes.
and I believe we covered everything. Just keep them both separate, the demo and the PPT,
Definitely. Sir.
right? And yeah, that's all from my side.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank you very
sure.
much.
Right. So the remaining participants, since it's already past 9 p.m., so we can't take any more presentations now. Please join tomorrow's session, like at the same time, 7 to 9 p.m., and present your presentations there. Right. So I believe that's the end of the presentation session now. Since we don't have time for the Q&A session, query session, I believe we'll be ending our presentation sessions now. And a very good evening, everyone. Thank you. Please join tomorrow at the same time.